Today we're out here at Sonoma Raceway driving a 2018 Mercedes AMG GT R owned by William. Totally stock, literally just brake fluid. Let's see how it drives. The AMG GT R is front midship, rear-wheel drive with a twin turbocharged hot V8 engine, making 577 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque. Made it to a 7-speed dual clutch transmission. It's actually a transaxle and it has an ELSD. It's weighing in right around 3,700 pounds, and we have double wishbone in all 4 corners with electric power steering. And the thing I'm most curious about today is, for around $120,000 on the used market, do you go with this, or do you go with a 718 Cayman GT4, or do you go with a 991.1 GT3, all of which can be had for right around $120,000 to $130,000 depending on the condition, the mileage, the spec, etc. Finishing up our outlap here, we don't have a lap timer on, so we're just going to use the timestamp on the video to figure out a rough estimate of what our lap times actually are. Now, the first thing, when you get behind the wheel of the AMG GT R, you're going to be surprised by how sharp that front end feels. It looks very much like a GT, but you get inside and the steering is incredibly sharp, almost too much in a way, and I think part of that can be because it does have an older generation, an earlier gen of this rear steer, which can actually make the front end feel a little bit over boosted at times. Keep in mind, we are also running the stock Cup 2 tires, which are heat cycled out. They're quite well worn. The owner is looking at replacing them very soon. And even though we have carbon ceramic brakes, this car is noted to have some pretty bad brake fade because the 2018s do not have the brake ducting that you get in the 2019s and onward from the GTR Pro. So the 2018s do have a lot of brake fade despite having carbon ceramic. So we are going to go a bit easier on the brakes. Corner after corner, we're going to be braking a little bit earlier and more conservatively to make them last as long as possible. Now, despite it having such a long hood and looking very front heavy, the car actually has a slight rearward weight distribution, believe it or not, because it has that front midship engine and it also has a transaxle, meaning the transmission is in the rear. So it helps with the weight distribution, and as a result, this car feels a lot more agile than you might expect. Although you do feel the weight, all 3,700 pounds, you do very much feel that. My buddy Fenton ended up driving it later that day, and he called it a larger, heavier S2000, and I can totally see where he's coming from because it does have that very sharp front end, front midship, double wishbone suspension, having a little bit of correction right there. It turns out with my driving after the owners, I got the tire pressures a bit hotter, and we are going to start noticing that the rear starts sliding out a little bit more easily than we're expecting because the pressures just get too hot. In hindsight, should have let out a little bit more air, but we're going to make do. You do have that very nice mid-corner balance with that slightly rearward weight distribution. And going back to the brakes, I do feel that the brakes are just not very confidence-inspiring. And again, I'm having to go pretty easy on them in all these braking zones. They don't have that same solidity and firmness and that same precise level of pinpoint precision with the modulation as something like a Porsche GT car. Part of that might also be just due to the fact that this is a much heavier car at 3,700 pounds, whereas the Porsche GT cars are 3,200. Quite a big difference. The DCT here as well compared to the PDK. The upshifts are pretty comparable. The downshifts here can be a hair slower than the PDKs. And also you get much more of a torque dip between gears than you would in a Porsche. Now, we're not really getting any good, proper, clean laps yet because we are running into traffic lap after lap. Either I'm lifting to let people pass or I'm being held up myself. So, not going to really be chasing quick lap times here. Just want to get a feel for the car. Again, braking nice and early here. Again, pressure's a bit hot in the rear, so we're needing to correct on a few corner exits. And we are across the line at a 149, despite having quite a bit of traffic there. Also, my turn 1 has been changed since then. I've done a couple more Sonoma track days since, and I've actually revised my turn 1 to turn 2 line, which I think can carry more speed. Now, while the car is very capable and it has good fundamentals, I don't find myself quite as readily able to push this car as something like a GT3 or even a GT4, because the level of communication and immediacy is slightly, it's like there's a veil. If you're looking out through a window, rather than seeing a clear image, you have this veil that kind of muddies it a little bit, and we have this electric power steering here, which doesn't have the same level of feedback and feel and precision and communication as something like a Porsche GT car. The transmission isn't quite as sharp, and because of that rear steer, I actually don't have, right there, quite a bit of correction. Again, the rear tire, the PSI is just too high, and the tires are also worn. But I don't have that same level of confidence and naturalness, so if you guys watch some of my other videos with GT3s and GT4s, I'm able to push the car closer to the limit, whereas here, I'm not really able to get much past 7 or 8 tenths. Of course, very much overslowing on turn 10, which I tend to do in most cars because that is the riskiest corner, and especially driving a new car that I'm unfamiliar with, I'm going to play it much more conservatively. But even more so than normal in this car, because I do have that big weight. It does take a moment to set. The rear end does some weird things at times with the rear steer. A 148.04. That was the one clean lap we've had so far, and there is more time to be had. Can definitely get this down a few more seconds with added seat time. But let's see if we're going to get any more clean laps here. Also, gotta really love the engine, because with the hot V, they've really minimized the turbo lag, and making 577 horsepower, 3,700 pounds, it's a healthy enough power to weight ratio. You do not feel like you need more power on a track like Sonoma. And the way that the engine is set up too, and when you're keeping it up in the power band, you don't really have much lag. It just feels like a big, naturally aspirated V8 with massive displacement, which is a lot of fun. Getting some understeer and push at the front end there. Again, these Cup 2s are quite worn. BMW gonna make room for us too? No, gonna close the door. So we're gonna wait our turn, but not gonna have a chance to set a quicker lap time this lap. When you start getting these heavier cars, one of the big downsides is that you're not able to just hot lap after hot lap in them the same way you can with something like a Miata or even a lot of GT Porsches. So when you start pushing more than, let's say, 3,200 pounds, you start seeing these diminishing returns, and it's like, how much do you value the added speed and lap time versus with a heavier car? It's less communication for the most part, it's less immediacy, it is, the inability to hot lap without things overheating, like in this case the brakes. So that is one thing that if you are considering a GT3 or GT4 or AMG GT R, that might push you away from a heavier AMG GT R, right? And the thing for me is, input quality is so critically important, and I would say that the GT Porsche inputs are higher resolution. I mean, the brakes, the steering wheel, the transmission sharpness, even the throttle, right? Everything feels just finely calibrated, surgically precise, and I can't say the same about the AMG GT R, although the AMG GT R is still incredibly competent and a lot of fun to drive. It just takes a little bit more time to warm up to and build the comfort with. I wonder if the more recent model years have revised things like the rear steer to make the rear end feel a little bit more natural. Because of how active that rear steer is, it can make the front end and rotate the car, it can make it feel so much more responsive, but then you're then expecting the rear to cut loose, and then it doesn't, and then other times the rear cuts loose when you're not expecting it, right? So here on turn 7 we are having quite a bit of correction lap after lap. Keeping up with this McLaren in front of us, but let's be real, that's more driver mod than anything. The McLaren should be gapping us by quite a bit. We are running an advanced group, which is why you've also seen some radicals flying around us, including one in the rear view right now. And we go wide here as I was considering making room for him. And there you go, sir. By the way, we are running with Lightspeed track events. You can use code Jubbal for $25 off your next event. And also, if you guys like my Senna-themed gloves, they're from my buddy PJ, who runs -273. You can use code Jubbal273 for 25% off. You can find that linked below. And now we're doing a cool-down lap. So overall, I do think the AMG GT R is a very impressive vehicle for the price point. A lot of performance here. We could have gone, I mean, I think I myself could have gone mid 140s here, but I think a pro driver could go low 140s in terms of what this car is capable of. There's a lot more room on the table that we left. But I think that by getting fresher tires and fixing the brake ducting, that a lot of the main issues with the car would be ameliorated. And keep in mind that even on these later laps here, after like lap 3 or 4, I was getting significant brake fade even though I was braking more conservatively. Now in hindsight, the owner told me after we came back into the paddock that he normally does 2 hot laps and then 1 cool down lap and then alternates, which is not what we were doing, but that could have helped us extend and have more hot lapping. Now overall, I wasn't able to get quite as comfortable, quite as quickly compared to other cars, and I think part of that is the weight, part of that is the input quality and communication and calibration and the rear steer. But keep in mind, I also had fewer than 15 minutes on track with this car, and I think with additional seat time, that stuff just tends to come with time, right? So nothing against the car. It was a great experience. Big shout out to the owner, William, for letting me review his AMG GT R out here at Sonoma Raceway. Much love, my friends, and I'll see you all in the next one.